Here to help us break down the Democratic response to the Republican National Convention is Brian Trascher, a New Orleans businessman and a Trump 2020 surrogate. So, Brian, it's interesting to me because last week a lot of Republicans were criticizing the DNC, saying that it was filled with high-profile actresses, things of that nature. That was really what they were making fun of. But then we look at this week and we see a lot of high-profile celebrities and those in the media mocking some of the subjects of the Republican National Convention. Nicholas Sandmann was one. I saw it throughout the night. Melania Trump was the other. What does that tell you?
Well, the Democrats are just showing us who they are, and that they are the real hateful, racist, misogynist, xenophobic, everything that they accuse the Republicans of being. It's all just gaslighting, because they are putting on display for the world to see that it's them who are guilty of all those horrible behaviors.
And, you know, when it comes to Nicholas Sandmann, for example, I get it. He's now an activist to some degree. He's out of high school. He's an 18-year-old. He can make his own decisions. Maybe he's a little bit more fair game than he was when he was a completely innocent bystander who was smeared by the media. But when it came to Melania Trump, I was really saddened to see some of the responses. Very xenophobic, very misogynistic responses to an immigrant woman who has, by any stretch, can be declared as a success. I mean, what she has done throughout her entire life is remarkable. And her speech last night, I got to say, I was very surprised. I didn't expect it to hit the tone that it did. I think that it was very effective, especially for a lot of those maybe women voters in the suburbs who may be on the fence about President Trump. What did you think of her speech?
Well, I thought it was absolutely wonderful. I mean, how nice is it to have just an elegant, graceful, well-spoken first lady who's just got a soft, kind way about her, instead of some of the abrasiveness and just kind of hard-hitting ways of the past. But, you know, looking at a lot of the criticisms that people have of President Trump, they say that he has no moral compass. They say that he has no compassion or empathy. Melania Trump is his conscience. She is his better angel. She is his wife, his best friend, his roommate, and his closest advisor. So I think that it actually did what it was supposed to do in reaching out to those demographics you mentioned, Alex. And I think it was a home run.
I think you're exactly right. And I think that the way she did it, too, was very effective. I mean, so much we see President Trump going at his critics and kind of having a more adversarial tone. And that's a big reason why a lot of people support him. But to see him also humanized, I mean, to just watch what Melania had to say about him, First Lady Melania, I should say, had to say about him, and just their interactions, I think it really brought a different dimension that a lot of people haven't seen before. Because in my opinion, one of the strengths of President Trump is the way that he interacts with other people. I mean, when it comes to these races, and I think we'll see it over the next 2 months, he does have a way of resonating with the average American more so than career politicians do. Do you agree?
I do. And, you know, for people that haven't had the privilege to be in the room with President Trump, they only see the character that he kind of puts on. He's very bombastic. I mean, he's always been that way even before he got into politics. But but I think you got a little bit of a glimpse, at least from my experience, when he was sitting in the room with the people that the hostages that were freed, and when he was meeting with some of the frontline workers, that kind of calm, gentle tone, where he just kind of he sits there and he listens. A lot of people have described him as a good listener, and he is. He listens and then he goes to the next one. That's exactly how he runs a meeting behind closed doors. He does more listening than talking. A lot of people would be surprised to hear that, but I've always joked that the president should show more of his human side, like when he's with his grandchildren and he just kind of harumph. I don't want anybody to see me like that. I got world leaders I got to intimidate.
No, and I would say that you're exactly right. I thought that kind of focus group type setting with the released hostages was a very good moment. Same thing on day one when they brought in the different people who have dealt with the coronavirus firsthand. In fact, there was a light moment where he was talking to someone who dealt with coronavirus and asked him about the different treatments. And the guy was going through what he's done, zinc, vitamin B, all the different things. And you saw President Trump kind of smirk and say, I'm not even going to ask about hydroxychloroquine. And everybody else in the room started laughing, knowing that what the media has made of that debate regarding hydroxychloroquine. So it was a very personal type of thing that took place as compared to what we've seen traditionally. So going into November, what do Democrats need to do in order to try to curb this momentum that seems to be coming out of the RNC if they want to win?
Well, let me tell you something. If I was going to be giving the Democrats advice, they better write a check with a lot of zeros on it. No, I think you probably saw, Alex, the CBS poll that recently came out showed President Trump up 10 among independents. I mean, that's the ball game. I think that there's very few undecided voters. People who are with the president are with him. People who are against him are against him. And there's those folks that not necessarily undecided, but not swayed just by a party line vote.
Sure.
And it looks like they're breaking toward President Trump at the right time.
No, and I think you're right. And we've looked at polling that came out of the Democratic convention, and there wasn't too much of a bump. And then we look at how things are going right now. And not only are people maybe kind of siding a little bit more when it comes to independence, but we even saw polls coming out of last week saying that party affiliation was changing a little bit. So I think that the message that a lot of people saw at the DNC wasn't one that a lot of independent voters are necessarily on board with. Of course, we're going to take some time and let the numbers officially come out a little bit more so we have a better idea. But I'd say right now, a lot of Republicans are at least very happy coming out of this convention. Brian Trascher, I really appreciate you coming on tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.